Hello and welcome to this week's Bromsgrove Standard Podcast. My name is Harry Leach and I am with Claire Bullivant.
Hello.
Here. Hello, how are you?
Good, nice to be filling in.
I know, yeah. Tristan he's off this week,
on
isn't
another
he?
holiday.
Another holiday.
How come Tristan gets all these amazing holidays and we're just always seem to be here? You and me, Harry.
You and me. But yeah, it's an interesting week already, isn't it? I mean, there's lots of news going on. There's a general election looming in December. Halloween's coming up. There's all sorts of
So
news.
how are you holding down the fort?
It's been okay so far. I actually had Monday off myself, so I had annual leave there, so I'm a bit behind, but we'll get through it, of course, won't we?
Any good stories for this week?
Well, as I said, later on we've got some guests talking about Sanders Park Firework display, which is going to be happening, so we'll be talking to them. And they'll be telling us all about the theme this year, which is something to do with the moon landings. They'll be telling us all about it. And of course we've got some Halloween. I mean, have you got any Halloween plans yourself? Or?
No, I haven't actually, not yet. A friend of mine, I think, might be having a party, and I've actually got a friend coming over from America, and she was asking me, because over there they love to do it big time. They do big time Halloween stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to have to find some stuff to do and to take her and show her. But no, a couple of weeks ago I did go on a ghost hunt.
Oh right,
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was actually over in Redditch at the Needle Museum, Forge Mill Needle Museum, and I went along and I was a little bit dubious, to say the least. I mean, I do believe in all that
spiritual stuff,
but I'm always that person. Like, my parents' house apparently is pretty haunted, but I'm the one person who's never seen anything. And I was sort of grew up asking to, praying to see something for proof of an afterlife, but nothing ever happened to me. So I went on this this ghost hunt, and I was a little bit dubious and a little bit sort of thinking, I'm not going to see anything. But it was a little bit weird.
A little bit spooky.
Yeah, the other ghost hunters, a lot of them were sort of seasoned professionals who travel the length and breadth of the country and have been to them all. And beforehand, on our briefing, we were in like the main clubhouse area, and they all came armed with their arsenal of equipment, this ghost fighting stuff, and they've got these things that beep and sirens that go off if there's any entities, and they were explaining how it all worked. And I was sat there thinking, okay, I don't really buy into
anything. Never going to see anything,
no. But then when we walked across in the pitch black into the museum, and we all sort of stood in a circle, and the leader kind of was like, is anybody there? And then suddenly I did feel like the hairs on the back of my neck.
Oh my God.
And one of the girls, one of the women on the trip, she kind of burst into tears, and she was saying that she kind of got overtaken by this demon entity, and that was pretty scary. But the whole time,
was she shaking all over the place? Sort of thing?
She started shaking, and and then started kind of crying, and it was really, really freaky.
That's unnerving everybody else in the room as well.
I know. Well, the whole area. I don't know if you've ever been over to the Forge Mill Museum. It's by Bordesley Abbey, and it used to be there used to be a monk. What do they call it?
Like a church or almost
an abbey.
I guess
abbey. And so lots of people have seen things there, and they've seen monks and things walking around. And apparently there's this black dog that roams the fields, and it's a ghostly dog. There's loads of stories, and I think you can't actually be from Redditch without hearing one of the stories. Everyone always talks about it over in Redditch. So I do know the stories, but I wasn't expecting to see anything. And the whole evening, nothing kind of happened to me. I saw other people witness things, or other people were saying they'd seen things or heard things, but nothing had happened to me. And then at 2:00 in the morning, when we were finally leaving, I was the last out of the building with my friend and the main guy who arranged it all. And he'd had an experience saying he felt this really evil entity, and he was saying, that's of all the years I've done that was terrifying. And, but my friend and I didn't feel it, and we were kind of locking up. And all the people in front of us, the rest of the group, had gone back to the clubhouse. And I saw one person with their hood up going over to the right, back to the kind of museum, the far part of the museum again. And I said to my friend, what are you doing going back there? And the person just seemed to walk through an archway. And we looked again, and it wasn't. It was a brick wall. And I know, and I honestly saw it. It looked like somebody in a hood, like it could have been a monk. But then again, I'm there thinking, was it a trick of the light? Was it a car driving?
Could you sleep that night? How did you feel afterwards?
That kind of, the whole night I was like, I wish something had happened to me and I'd seen something. But then after that, I was driving home. I was a little bit kind of scared.
What have I just seen?
Yeah,
sort of thing.
and I kept questioning myself. I still am questioning myself.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw it.
So you've gone in as a bit of a skeptic and you've come out seeing a ghost that day?
Well, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it was only like a split sort of second, and then I'm questioning myself. But then I went and looked at the wall where I thought the person had walked through. I thought there must be an arch or something, but it was just a brick wall.
Yeah. Oh, wow, spooky.
I know,
it's
spooky.
also interesting what you said at the very start about your friends coming over from America, or how they do it in America, Halloween. I know it's a bit just off topic there, but it's coming over here, I feel, though, that culture, a little bit of dressing up, adults dressing up, things like that. Do you see that, having seen both sides?
Yeah.
I've never seen Halloween in America.
Exactly.
So.
Well, I've been living over in America for about the last 10, 11, 12 years, actually, 12 years. I'm back now. But when I first left, nobody really did Halloween over here. Now everyone's doing Halloween.
Yeah.
But over in America, you can dress up as anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a ghost or a witch or a goblin. It can be Donald Trump. I'm sure there's probably millions of Donald Trumps. But loads of the traditions, like nowadays, they all have their not graduations, proms at schools, and people having baby showers, aren't they? We never had any of that.
No, that's all America, isn't it?
But it's
coming
all
over,
happening,
TV culture, I suppose, that we've seen and then we've copied almost. But yeah.
It's a good thing. I'm always up for a party, whether it's a prom or a graduation or
and I suppose
Halloween.
we should have had a Brexit Halloween, shouldn't we? But that never happened.
I know. What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, obviously we've got this general election coming on in December now.
What's the word in the street in Bromsgrove?
I think Conservatives are going to get a majority.
Do you think?
I do think that, yeah. I think Labour have got next to no chance.
Well, they haven't really got a position, have they?
They've
kind of got a foot in each camp.
Whereas the Lib Dems haven't they? And if you want to stop Brexit, I suppose that's where you'd vote. But I don't mind putting this on record, but I was a Remainer. And now I'm leaning more towards I'd rather to see Brexit happen, just because that's what people voted for, and I don't want to change that. I don't want to do anything that would go against that. So I think I wouldn't vote for Lib Dems either.
I'm exactly the same, actually. I'm definitely. I mean, I do love Europe and everything, but I am now thinking we have to see Brexit through. Like, I think it's a travesty. It would send the country into pandemonium if that vote isn't respected, isn't it? I look at Joe Swinson and the Liberal Democrats, and I'm just thinking, if I vote for if you win and you put something through, why would we ever trust you?
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
So it's a very difficult one, but just hopefully the whole country will heal somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, though, with Brexit, we're probably going to have some rocky years ahead. I mean, getting used to everything. We've got that transitional period, though, that's going to happen for the first 12 months, so hopefully we can get a deal. But I must admit, I was one of these people that found Boris Johnson's deal to be better than... As far as Brexit goes, it was better than Theresa May's, because it will leave the customs union and things like that, and I felt like that was what Brexit actually should have been. So... For me, that should have gone through at the time. I don't know. Did you feel like that?
I felt that totally as well. Well, I've actually always been a bit of a Boris fan. I know some people, he's a bit like Marmite. You either love him or hate him,
He's a Trump,
I think.
isn't he, almost?
I think he's a lot nicer than Trump. I'm not a fan of Trump, but I'm definitely a fan of Boris. But he was actually one of my very, very first interviews back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, when I was at uni, I worked for a TV channel called Town TV in Oxford, and I got to interview Boris when he was MP. I'm aging myself now. It must have been about 2004, 2003, 2004, and he was the MP for Henley. And I remember, I didn't really know who he was or anything then, but I had to go and interview him. And I remember him rocking up on his bike. He was on his pedal.
He was on his push bike then as well.
Yeah, and he came along the river, and he came
hair all over the place.
Yeah, and he was just, and I remember, but he was so charismatic. Honestly, Harry, to this day, like I have liked him to this day, because at the end of the interview, my mum's got it somewhere on VHS. It's recorded.
Play it at Christmas.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find it. I think it's above the garage somewhere. But at the end of the interview, I do remember saying to him something like, "Oh, you're going to be Prime Minister one day, because you're so charismatic." And he was. And so I've actually really liked him ever since then.
You should get that on your social media, bragging rights.
But it was, So
I suppose he wasn't, as you said, as a well-known figure then, was he? By that point, he was on the rise very much so, wasn't he? Rather than...
I seem to remember driving over to the interview, not knowing really who he was and kind of trying to do research.
It must be fascinating for you then to see him as the Prime Minister, that surreal sort of thing. Yeah. But I mean, I think we still there's people calling for his head now, isn't there? Because obviously he said that do or die, Brexit 31st,
and Donald Tusk said, "I will not give you another extension." People, I think if it had been up to Boris, he would have gone out on the 31st, but it's like he's just had roadblocks, hasn't he, every step of the way, from Labour and the SNPs.
Yeah, I know, and that's the problem with Labour is I've been a Labour supporter for most of my life, but I mean I am one of those people. I'm not one of those people that's necessarily just loyal to a party. I'd rather just look at policy and stuff like that, and I'd like to vote for Labour, but over the course of Brexit and stuff, I just find it very difficult with their stance, as you say, what they actually want to propose I mean, I presume they want to give it back to the people if they were to have a majority. Do you think that's probably what they'd do?
They've said that if they won, they'd do a better deal with Europe. Not sure how they would get a better deal with Europe, but that's what they've said. And then they will put it back to the people. And then they would, So, I mean,
they're not going to get a better deal, though, are they?
5 years' time, we're still going to be in the same situation. It's going to be a nightmare.
I think really the EU is not going to budge now on the deal, are they? They didn't really budge much for Johnson's. A lot of it was similar to Theresa May's. It's just the big thing I found was the customs union, which was very good of him to deliver, but overall they're not going to really budge too much, are they? It's either going to be that or I think
they want our money. They want the divorce settlement, and they want
exactly. So, but I suppose I don't blame them really. They don't want us to go, and that was in the
and to be honest, it's in their favour for as long as it keeps being delaying. They're getting £1 billion a month from us. So British taxpayers' money is going to them, and so they're not losing out anything. And then they just want that big 30 billion lump sum, and they're going to be sorted for a while. But let's just hope it all rallies us together and we get on with it somehow.
I think it's going to be the year 2050, and we're still going to be having this conversation on this podcast about when we're leaving.
Can you imagine? Oh, I hope not.
But also another big story this week, which I won't say too much about yet because you'll be able to read it in the paper. But I don't know if you heard much about cystic fibrosis recently in the news, and how they've brought out a drug on the NHS which is going to help a lot of people who have that disease who would have otherwise had a much shorter life. And we've got a Bromsgrove girl who's 3 years old, and she's her family have got in contact with us, and they've told us how amazed they are and happy they are after sort of a year or so of lobbying all these big drug companies and things like that and the NHS to finally get this on the NHS.
Fantastic, because it's like £100,000 or something a year, but that's a small price to pay, isn't it, for a life? I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Is she going to be in the paper?
She is in the paper. Marcus, our photographer, has been out to take a picture.
Fab.
And she'll be our front page story this week because it's just such fantastic news. I remember writing a few cystic fibrosis related stories throughout my time here, and it's always so sad to know these people have got a shorter life, or at that point they did, and they'd have to go to America or whatever to get the
because it's their lungs, isn't it? The spongy things fill up with water, and they kind of almost drown in their own. So some of them get on a waiting list for new lungs, but that only gives them another 5-10 years.
And I think this girl in particular, she was told that by 20, or the parents were told by 28 that would be it.
Oh.
So very interesting story, and check it out in this week's Bonfire Standard and online.
Do we have anything from Sajid? Have we got any comments from him about the election or anything?
We've actually put something up online about the general election this morning, but we're waiting on a comment from Sajid. So it will be in this week's paper. And an updated version will go online as well.
When Tristan is away, like this week, does he hand over his, because Tristan is the one journalist, apparently, the one local journalist in the country who has Sajid Javid's private number. And they have a little WhatsApp messaging thing going, don't they?
I actually have Sajid's number as well.
Your number too?
I do. I've yet to message him on WhatsApp.
Can we call him now? Let's get him on the podcast.
Prank call.
Go on, hand over your phone, Harry.
But I mean, I usually go through the press office, but perhaps I'll give him a WhatsApp later today and ask him.
Oh, how exciting! I love Sajid. We're proud to have him from Bromsgrove, aren't we?
We are really. It's very impressive, his rise, really, from Home Secretary to Chancellor now, and we love his backstory, don't we? We love his backstory.
He's come a long way, and he just, and even the left my left-leaning friends who are very left, they all seem to like Sajid.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to like him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's got a pensioners fair in Bromsgrove. Don't ask me the day, but it's coming up next week or the week after.
For pensioners. Great idea. Well, his normal job fair always does really well, that he's done the last couple of years in Bromsgrove as well.
Yeah.
He is a man of the people, isn't he?
Yeah,
Whatever he says he will do, he always ends up doing.
It's nice to see, even in his new role, that he's able to come back to Bromsgrove, even if it's... You understand that some people I've seen on our social media and stuff are very mad that he's not in Bromsgrove. Others say that he... But you can only be so much in Bromsgrove when you've got such a big position in the cabinet. So I think he does very well.
I'm very jealous you've got his number.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty cool.
He doesn't know that yet, clearly, but... No, but yeah, we'll get in contact with him. And if there's any other stories, please do get in contact with us. You can ring myself this week on 01527 588 621. That's my direct number to the office. Or you can contact me on using my email, which is harry.leach, and that's LEACH, at bullivant, BULLIVANT, media.com. And please get in touch. We always like to hear from the public. That's where a lot of our stories come from. So, yeah.
And I'm really excited about our guests that we've got coming in now. So these guys are the ones responsible for setting up the bonfire night this Saturday.
Yes, they'll be the ones responsible for Sanders Park. And I mean, they're going to tell us all about it. But I think they've got the fun fair there, live music from all sorts of different bands and things like that. And hopefully they'll tell us why people should go to these kind of events rather than just having fireworks at home in the back garden.
Can't wait to hear it.
Well, then, thank you very much for speaking with me today, Claire. And Tristan Harris will be back next week.
Pleasure, Harry. Thanks for having me on. And also, don't go anywhere if you're listening to this, because we're going to be right back as we're talking to Councillor Phil Thomas, Jackie Boreham and Ishrat Karimi Fini, the amazing people behind this weekend's Sanders Park Bonfire and Firework Spectacular. It sounds as though it's going to be incredible. Hear all about it in this next section of the podcast, and we hope to see you there on Saturday.
You're listening to the Bromsgrove Standard Podcast because you have impeccable taste.
With me, I've got Councillor Phil Thomas and also Ishrat Karimi Fini, and we'll be talking about Sanders Park and the firework display that will be taking place this Saturday, November 2nd. Hello, guys. Welcome to the studio.
Hiya.
How are you this morning?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
Yourself?
Good. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. So this looks like it could be a major event. We recently, as we were talking earlier about, was it in Evesham where they've had to cancel the event, their firework event?
It's Worcester, actually.
Worcester, sorry.
Worcester racecourse due to the flooding. Yeah.
Due to the flooding. But hopefully this will be a fantastic day. What can you tell me about?
This year's firework display is themed towards the music of To the Moon and Back.
Oh, yeah.
Celebrations of 50 years of the first man missioned on land. And Neil Armstrong, obviously, and pilot Buzz Aldrin sort of led that. And we wanted to host something in relation to that, which related back to the fireworks. So the theme music will be obviously something that we're trying to get out there. It's hosted by Malcolm Boyden from BBC Hereford and Worcester. There will be live music and entertainment throughout the day. And a local band, musically influenced by bands such as The Madness, The Specials, The Bad Manners, and The Beat, playing originals, 60s music. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely right, yeah. So we've got live music from two bands, including Hayley Jones, who's a local artist from Redditch. And we've got the fun of the fun fair there. And everyone should have a great time.
Is it a theme every year then, or is that something you're just doing this year?
It's the first time we've done it this year. It's something that we wanted to try and so people can relate to it, in particular with the community, as it's a community event and in an open space, so it's obviously a green space. So yeah, that's the reason why we wanted to host it within the theme.
Yeah. And in regards to these bands, how did you get them involved? How did you get them on board?
We usually go through an agent to obtain the headline band, and Skabucks are headlining, as Ish said earlier.
Fantastic. And what kind of music can we look forward to? What kind of genre are some of the bands that the family... Is it family sort of music?
Yeah, the music's all based on ska music from the 60s, as Ish's just mentioned. So it'll be a revival of that music and current music such as Madness and The Specials. So Skabucks are going to be performing from 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock on the evening, and they'll perform again at 7 till 7:30.
Fantastic. Sounds like a really good event for all the family to go along. And whereabouts can they get tickets from for this event?
So tickets can be bought on the night in various entrances to the park. Entrance near the Cat Scout Hut on Kidderminster Road. Entrance off Dean's Way by the children's play area. Entrance from Dawns Road, which is near the Overspill car park. And entrance from Watt Close by the ball courts and St John's School.
Fantastic. I think it's really good to have these sort of events, though. Yeah, go on.
There's also the prepaid tickets and disabled access through the new shared pedestrian cycle route. So if people want to know more about it, they can give us a call, and we can give them further information in relation to that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, why do you think it's important to sort of encourage these events, when you go out and watch fireworks as opposed to maybe watching fireworks at your own home?
I think the community spirit is really important to collective and cohesive. The approach in terms of how people want to see an event in the local park is really important. I think safety is paramount for us, and we want to make sure that it's safe as possible and people can enjoy it. And the community spirit itself is lovely, and people getting together and sort of sharing that experience. There's a lot more than just the fireworks. There's you've got the fair, which is common to any firework display. You've got some stalls, and you've also got some food stalls. There's a bit of entertainment throughout, and people can have a nice walk around the park itself, which is one of the best features of having an open sort of firework display anyway. So. And
I suppose you wouldn't get that in your garden or
no,
that,
you wouldn't.
Would you?
No, you wouldn't. You've got all the amenities right on your doorstep there.
And does it cost anything to come?
There is a charge. The admission to the event is the same as last year. At the moment, the prices are adults £5, children 16 and under £3, under 2s free, family tickets 2 adults and 2 children, which is £14. We are very clear about the ticket sales because of obviously being quite a high profile event. We also say tickets are non-refundable.
I'd also add that the ticket sales, we don't make any money on this. It just helps us wash his face. And it also includes a donation to Primrose Hospice. So when people come along to this, they're getting a great event, and they're also giving some money to a great cause.
Because it's a lot. We had the head of Redditch Borough Council on a podcast yesterday, and he was saying that they have £15,000. That's how much it's costing for the fireworks and organising just for the Redditch show. So is yours roughly about the same kind of money?
It is, yeah, approximately nearer there.
Yeah.
I think it's just quite important to recognise that we don't actually really have a budget for it.
Right.
We try and meet as much as we can to try and save as much as we can.
A lot of people say it's money going up in smoke, but it's good for the environment and the community, isn't it? It's good to get everyone out, enjoying
themselves. Well, it's a celebration,
themselves.
there's great communities, great events, people enjoy it in a safe environment.
Absolutely.
And it's helping a great cause, so it's good fun all around.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. Just to make sure we've got that clear, what time should people arrive?
People should arrive. So the music starts at 5 p.m, so any time after that, really. But the firework and the bonfire. So the bonfire is lit at 7 p.m, and fireworks start at 7:30. Just to run through that, the park will be closed at 3 p.m, just obviously so we can try and start setting up and stuff, so people in the local area know that. And one last bit I'd like to add is that the tickets will be sold on Friday and Saturday, 11 till 3 on the High Street, as well as Primrose Hospice shop on the High Street and the Council's Customer Service Centre.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, and make sure you get yourself down to Sanders Park this Saturday. So thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having our guests today, Councillor Phil Thomas, Jackie Boreham and Ishrat Karimi Fini, who came in and spoke to us about the fireworks at Sanders Park this weekend. You should definitely go along. That will be a fantastic event. And also thank you for listening. It's been another great Bromsgrove Standard podcast. Next week you'll be happy to know that Tristan Harris, our editor, will be back. So please tune in then. Thank you very much.